This is Izzy Dakota Jones with the Art of Doing podcast. And yeah, I'm laughing because it takes 1,000 takes to me to do this after I've done it 1,000 times. But Cherelle Jardine is who we're going to be talking to today. Cherelle is a singer-songwriter, performer, host of a radio show in Vancouver here, Pacific Northwest Radio. She belongs to the podcast, or the radio show is Make a Scene Canada. Cherelle has done lots of things. Very interesting career. She's, we're just going to get into it. She's recently been in a band with her husband Mark, who's a great keyboard player, singer, songwriter himself, with a band called Head. She's had a band, Stone Poets, with her husband, and kind of a folky band. She had a band with her daughter AJ, with the Jardines, country kind of thing. Toured the UK, played in Nashville, wrote in songs and did stuff in Nashville. And I think her daughter still is doing that. So we're going to be talking to Cherelle really quick here in a few minutes. This is Izzy Dakota Jones with the Art of Doing podcast. Hang in there.
Hello.
Hello. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Not bad, kiddo. Not bad. What's new? What's new with you lately? How you been?
Oh, busy as all hell.
Well, that's
insane. Which is good.
It's
a
a good
trouble.
Yeah. It keeps you going, right?
Totally.
Right on.
Yeah. Thanks for calling me and for having me on your show. That's awesome.
I know. I appreciate that. So I've already done the introduction. I always preset that. So let's.
Okay.
You know what I want to talk about first? Talk about you and your daughter. When we'll just kick right into it. When you had the Jardines going, I'm very interested in that. How did that work with you and your daughter teaming up? How do you find the work experience?
Well, what was so cool about that, I had 4 solo CDs that I'd already put out as Cherelle Jardine, and when I was getting ready to do my 5th CD, AJ was 18 at the time, and I said to her, hey, how about doing a project with your mom, and we'll call it the Jardines. And I had no idea that she would say yes, because teenagers, they don't want to do anything with parents, right? And she was like, that's it, because she was already a musician and, and doing her thing and stuff. She goes, yeah, I'd love to. So we started writing and recording and put out our first album in I guess it was 2010. And then we did our second album in 2012 and released it. So the coolest thing is that her first major show was at the 2010 Olympics.
Yeah.
The opening day on the Ozone stage. That was her introduction to, kind of being a rock star. So it was pretty cool for her.
Yeah, and that's on the world stage too. You know what I mean? That's very cool. Right? Yeah, that's very cool. Very cool. And you guys also toured the UK too. Tell me about that. That must have been interesting.
That was so fun. Yeah, we decided that we wanted to go over and do some shows, and so we went over and did a couple shows in England. I went over and went to Scotland and kind of drove down the whole coast and stuff and met her and did shows over there. So that was quite, the experience, and what a treasure to be able to do that with your kid, right?
Yeah. It's a good memory, isn't it? That's
totally.
Yeah. You can't beat that. And then you guys also did some song. You've also done songwriting with your daughter in Nashville too, right?
Yeah, we have. We actually, for her graduation, I thought I'd take her down to Nashville, which was, the moment for her when we got there. We were doing shows and songwriting down there, and she said, Mom, you know what? I really want to do a solo career, and I want to move to Nashville. And I was like, oh, my heart. It's like, oh, my God. But you have to let them go. And so she now has a flourishing career in Nashville. I'm super proud of her. She's just doing so well down there.
Yeah, that's what I hear. That's great.
Yeah.
And that all just started with you two teaming up together, right? That's
I know.
Isn't that amazing?
It's
amazing.
You never know what'll happen.
Yeah, it's amazing where it takes you, right? That's interesting. And then I find this interesting too. Like you've done a lot of different styles of music. You know what I mean? Like you did the Stone Poets too, right? And that's like more of a folky thing, right?
Yeah, it's modern folk, and the cool thing about that, how that kind of came to play, the Jardines were performing at this big festival with another band called the Band in Paris, and Scott Jackson, who's the lead singer of that band, and now plays in Stone Poets, we were backstage.
Yeah.
And he had been talking to Mark, and he said, I've got this song. I wonder if Cherelle would, be interested in kind of co-writing something. And he goes, why don't you ask her? So at the show, Scott asked me backstage, and of course, I love Scott Jackson. I always have his voice as one of the finest voices, I think, in rock and roll. And so anyways, he asked me if I, was kind of interested in doing something with him, and I said, yeah. And then Mark was in the back room, and he yelled out, hey, you guys can rehearse at my place. That's how he got into Stone Poets. I know, we laugh now, right?
That's cool. Close. And you did you did 4 CDs with that project, right? Am I right?
Yeah, that's right, 4 CDs, and we just released 2 singles, one that we wrote in Nashville, which is just so killer. I'm super proud of this. And all of the work we do with Sheldon Zaharko, who's just a kick-ass producer and, top line engineer. And
very cool.
So, yeah.
That's very cool. And then also, like, what's my favorite right now is your band Head, right? I really like that band, right?
Yeah.
That's a very cool band. And you guys, and then you went even a little more further into the like the rock feel. You know what I mean? Like, where you still got that project going? Where are you going with that? Where's that going now?
Yeah, well, that's an interesting project because it started out like, it's bizarre. So yeah, the country, all country kind of thing, and then the modern folk. And my original stuff actually used to be, kind of on the rock edge, like Sheryl Crow.
Yes.
But taking it to the farthest, of all those genres to the rock thing that Head is now. And Mark and I had been talking, and he said, I've always wanted to put together this band called Head where everybody would be bald. And I was like, well, why don't, we get to me going, I'm not going to be bald, but, maybe the other guys can. And so we got together and we started doing some writing, and then we brought in the other players and kind of put the band together. And so we have 2 albums that we put out and some videos and stuff, and we're kind of in a bit of a writing phase right now where we're writing for the new album.
Cool.
And so when Vancouver, there's not a lot of venues. That's one of the hardest part. And unless you're touring, it's kind of hard to perform. So we only perform like 3 or 4 times a year in Vancouver. But we're just talking about the next phase.
Yes. And I think a lot either touring or a really good thing to do is a lot of a lot of creative writing and recording, and you know what I mean, like, and multimedia videos and stuff. Like, I think that's probably where it takes you nowadays. You know what I mean? I think that's especially if you live here. You know what I mean? Like, there's like you said, there's just the venue there's not a lot left here, right? I mean, it's very small, and unless you're playing you're playing the BC Place, that's. Then you're touring, right? That's basically what you're doing.
You don't just do a one-off at BC Place.
That would be interesting. It probably sucked the sound. But,
oh my gosh!
You better try to amplify that place.
No kidding.
Yeah. Wow. Holy smoke! And then we'll want to talk about your radio show, which I was on, like. You do a lot of things, right? I'm really impressed. Like, you say you're busy, I get it,
Oh, my God, it's insane. Just one more thing about Head. So the
cool
thing about Head also is that we all have an alter ego. And so I'm actually Lyric in the band Head.
I like that name because you sing in its lyrics, right?
I write the lyrics, but the whole thing is that, it's kind of a little bit of my life story, the albums that we've put out. So
okay, cool.
I had a really, abusive alcoholic father, and so, my whole life was kind of, very chaotic, and so it's been really good therapy almost to be able to, write through lyric.
Yep.
And so, anyways, I just wanted to throw that out there.
That's very cool, because that I think that's where a lot of people, like, artists that went, like, that's what we relate to, right? We relate to those feelings when you have tough times. Like, I talked about that, I think the other day at one of my band rehearsals about how certain people we know, like, I'm sure we know a lot of the same people. We do know a lot of the same people that their childhoods, weren't exactly, the best either, right? I think around our time frame, because we're close to the same age, Cheryl, like we're in that generation, I think there was a lot of upheaval. I think what one of my friends said once, one of my friends is a therapist, and she said to me once, she said, it's interesting, I don't think a lot of our parents knew how to be parents, right? And so, they probably did what they think was right, but it wasn't, it wasn't proper. You know what I mean? Like it just,
right.
whatever, it didn't sit well with the rest of us. So we become somewhat, I guess, I admit it, mine was imperfect too, right? So it totally was imperfect. And so what I thought was a good thing, how things should have been, like leave it to Beaver family, right? It just, that what you saw on TV just wasn't real in our lives, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
To leave it to Beaver thing is just like rare, right? Very rare,
yeah.
right?
Very rare.
Yeah, and then we were actually it was last night we were talking about it, and Harvey was saying, well, I had a really good childhood. My mom and dad it was really good with my mom and dad, right? And I says, that's great. I says, because it's funny, you take that other side of it and you kind of go like, yeah, I'm the damaged one, right? And you laugh about it because nowadays it's pretty normal. There's a lot of people that have been damaged when they were kids, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because I think what happened too is they had no way of knowing. Like my father had a very abusive family upbringing.
Yeah.
His parents were abusive, so he grew up thinking that was the way to do it.
Yeah.
And whereas now there's so much on social media, like kids, if they're being abused, it's like I can just tell somebody and somebody's going to help me. Whereas when you're in that situation my father told me, we sat down with counselors, if you say a word, I'll kill you.
Yeah.
So it's a total 180. And what's funny is that I raised my daughter so differently than I was raised. I broke the cycle because I was like, I am not going to bring a child into this world and have her go through the shit that I went through. And
exactly.
So I overcompensated, and I think my brother did the same with his kids, and so she got everything. That's what we do.
Yeah, I think we do stuff like that, and then like for as far as our art goes in creating music, it says you express from there. That's where it all comes from, right? It just comes from all those experiences, and then when you do that, you come out on the other side feeling a lot better. You know what I mean? Like you're a lot stronger in what you do, right? I think so, anyways.
Oh yeah, it's all good. You just kind of you go through life and there's no rule book. You just got to figure shit out on your way, and some stuff happens, and you're like, oh. That's pretty fucked up, or, so, it all figures out. But anyway, sorry to kind of...
No, this is what this show's about. We talk about, we just go off, and I talk to people, and we go off on all kinds of things, and we get back to the main topics, but it's fun, because then the people get to hear that we're real, Yeah. And
exactly.
We're just people, and in the end, we're enjoying ourselves and enjoying life. So it's always good to talk about things because then people, hey, these people are just like me, it helps. Yeah.
Exactly.
Now, festivals, what kind of festivals have you played with all your projects? Different kinds? Like I see the festival thing, like you did a couple in Richmond and a couple of different places. And over in the UK, you said you did festivals, right?
Yeah, there's been all. God, I could go back and try and name them all. I don't even know if I could.
Yes.
I've had a long career.
So I guess you must like the festivals. Do you like? Let me ask you this question: do you like festivals over playing in a bar? I know I do.
Yeah, well, you know what I like the best? And it's funny because with Stone Poets, we do sometimes house concerts.
Oh, yeah.
And they're sit-down concerts where there's like 40, 50 people, and you can hear a pin drop. They do not say a word. They listen to us. Like with Stone Poets, it's all about the song and talking about the experience around the song. And those are my most favorite experiences where you're a foot away from the person, and then after the show, we sit around and we talk to people, and they tell you, what it meant to them, the song, or they ask you questions, and it's just a very, like in festivals and stuff, you never get to see the people unless you go to the CD table, so it's like, you never really get a chance to have that one-on-one conversation with somebody who, like, there was a woman at one of our Stone Poets concert, and after the show was over, she said, I got to tell you something. I was in a major car accident 2 years ago, and while I was listening to your music, I did not have any pain.
Ooh.
And I was like, because music heals you, right? Like, we all know that. It's been scientifically proven. And I thought, oh, my God, I can totally relate to that because I have fibromyalgia.
Yes,
so I'm in chronic pain a lot of the time, right?
Yeah.
And when I perform, I have no pain.
That's very cool.
And so it's my medicine. So moments like that are just so beautiful, to be able to say, hey, that was for 2 hours. You did not feel any pain, and neither did I.
Wow.
So
wow, that's really cool. That's very cool. And so, I think even like you're saying, like the smaller shows, like in a smaller tight area, like a house show. Those are, you can reach, you're really close to the people. You know what I mean? Like it's very cool that way. Yeah, I know that feeling. I like that too. Although I'm funny like that. I'm in a smaller setting. I'm actually more intimidated than I am in a bigger setting.
I know, and some people say that, but I'm the opposite.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm that way.
On a big stage, you have to worry about the monitors and can you hear yourself, and especially with Stone Poets, our harmonies are so intricate that if I can't hear the other guys, it's kind of scary. So it's a little different, right? But with Head, it's a totally different thing altogether because the bigger the stage, the better, so that I can move and create that character lyric. A lot of weird things she does.
Yeah. There you go.
I know. It's like I have all these alter egos. Who am I today? Oh my God. I don't know.
That's great. Hey, tell me about the, here's an interesting thing, because last year's my first year doing this podcast, so I'm in my second year. But I'm really interested to know, when you're doing interviews, what are some of your favorite interviews? Like, you've done people, you must have I've had a few that have, I'm enjoying this a lot. When you and I could probably yak all day. You know what I mean? I like those ones. I have a couple of those that I talked to a guy. You probably know him. I don't doubt it. The guy who has Mnet Radio in Mission.
Oh yeah, what's his name?
I forget his name. He's going to kill me. But anyways, I did an interview with him about a month and a half ago, and it's like you. It's just it just goes on. We can talk for hours, and at the end of it all, he says, "Fuck, you're fun to talk to." I says, "So are you." Right? I says, "That's what it's all about." I says, "If I can have, it's the ones that I can't talk to. I don't know about you. The ones that you're just asking questions and they're giving you really straight answers and they're going nowhere, and you're just going, oh shit."
I know, and then there's silence, and you're like, "Oh shit, okay, hang on, is he pissed off at me for that question?" Or I know, you know what? I've been so lucky. I've had some amazing interviews. I got to talk to Jeff Martin from the Tea Party.
Oh, cool.
I talked to Jane Siberry. I just had a Jesse Cook interview. Eric Alper recently. Delana Gale Bowen. I just interviewed her. So I've had some very wonderful interviews where I can actually talk to them about personal experiences and they're willing to share them with me.
Yeah.
I mean, I can ask somebody, okay, where did you record your album and who produced it, and the process of songwriting and stuff. That means not as much to me as, okay, this is your new single, fantastic, but tell me what are the meaning behind the lyrics.
Yeah.
Or just, what did you have like Eric Alper the other day? He's one of the biggest publicists in Canada, and it was such an amazing interview. And I said, so I hear you're a chip and pop guy. That's what he eats for breakfast. He's like, yeah, how did you know? It's you kind of do your research on whoever you're interviewing, and then give a heartfelt, it's a performance, really, at the end of the day.
It is at the end of the day, right? Yeah, it is, because you're just getting into it. That's interesting. Yeah, I feel the same way. I like talking to people and get, I'm talking to you, and we're talking about things that affect us in what we're doing too, right? I think that's really important. I'm looking at how many CDs you've done, how much recording you've done. You've done as much. You've done you've done more than me almost. I've done zillions, right? I love I don't know about you, but I do love the art of recording. That is my probably my most favorite. right?
Yeah, I do too. Yeah, it's really. I mean, the whole process. You write the song, and then the production. You know, and especially like working with Sheldon. If you guys ever get a chance to work with him, oh my God, this guy's just. He knows us so well, and it's just you say something like, "I'd like this to sound a little bit more like this" or whatever, and he just dials it up like he knows, right?
Yeah.
And we've had the fortune of going into the Warehouse studio, which is one of the, kick-ass studios, Brian Adams' studio right in Vancouver. And Bob Rock was there on the day we were recording, and I got to sit down and shoot the shit with him. Like, stuff like that is just amazing.
Yeah.
So.
And Bob's a really nice person. I've met Bob a few times, so he's a very nice guy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
totally
he's easy to talk to. He's easy to talk to, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's great.
So Make a Scene Canada is on Pacific Northwest Radio, which Sheldon Harco owns. And it was funny because Mark Gladstone, my husband, had a show called Green Beans, Mushroom Soup, and Strawberry Ice Cream on the station.
Yeah, I remember that.
And so they were talking about it, and I said, I want to have a show. And someone goes, oh, okay, well, write a show. And so I came back with Make a Scene Canada. And it's just basically supporting and, promoting musicians and anybody that's kind of in the art scene in Canada.
Yeah.
Like doing their thing, promoting music. So that's how that kind of progressed. So it's 3 years. I'm in 3 years now, and
Good.
love it.
I know. It's fun, isn't it? It's fun.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you. It was great talking to you. Like, and then I read all your stuff, and I'm going like, wow, I knew you did a lot, but I didn't know you did this much, right?
Oh my God, yeah. And then we'll talk another time, and I'll go way back and all the other stuff I've done in the industry.
Yeah.
That's not as exciting, but yeah, if people want to get in touch with me, they can go to stonepoets.ca, headmusic.ca, or pacificnorthwestradio.com, and they can find Make a Scene Canada on the station, and they can get in touch with me any way that, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
Well, thank you very much, Cherelle. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Awesome, and we got to do a show together soon.
We will. We'll figure it out.
Okay.
Take care.
Sounds good. Thank you, Joe.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, this is Izzy Dakota Jones talking at you. And that was Cherelle Jardine we talked to. Very interesting. Check out her podcast. Check out her bands. And it's worth it. What can I say? This is Izzy Dakota Jones with the Art of Doing podcast. Thank you.